One of the biggest challenges people can face when they want to quit drinking is cravings. Cravings can feel really hard to overcome. And in this video, I'm going to look at what causes cravings, and I'm going to share a video with you that will help you learn how to beat them easily. Now, there are two types of cravings, and it's important you know the difference between the two. There's the low-level craving that seems to hang around for ages. It can stick around for days on end and just sit in the background. It can be really uncomfortable. And then there's the overwhelming craving. The overwhelming craving can feel like it sweeps you off your feet and you just don't know what to do about it. It can come out of nowhere and it can go just as quickly. By understanding where cravings come from and learning the strategies in the other video that I share later on, you're going to be able to successfully navigate your way through cravings and move forward into an alcohol-free life. There's two different ways that cravings can be caused, and again, it's important that you understand the two. The more you learn about this, the more you understand, the more you're going to set yourself up for sober success. The first cause of cravings is to do with our brain. Our brain wants to keep us in a state of homeostasis. Imagine it rather like a baseline of happiness, a line that no matter what, our brain always wants to bring us back to. If we're feeling super happy and euphoric, really joyful, and we're all the way up here, our brain will do everything it can to bring us back down. It actually releases a chemical called dynorphin to bring us back down when it realizes that we're too happy. It always wants to bring us to that baseline level. If it notices that we're underneath homeostasis, maybe we're feeling really sad or down, it'll do everything it can to bring us back up to that level. Now, when we drink alcohol, it slowly chips away at our baseline. We always end up in a worse place than before we started drinking. We might feel more anxious. We might lose some self-worth through our drinking behavior. It might make us start to feel more depressed or have mood swings, and it can be very subtle. But know that every single time that we drink, we move one step further away from our baseline, and as a result, our brain finds it harder and harder to bring us back up to the baseline of happiness. And this is why I hear people all the time telling me that they feel anxious or depressed and they're drinking most days. That is the absolute reason, because they're struggling to get back to their baseline of happiness. If they look back to the time when they didn't drink, they'll find that they did feel happy, they didn't feel anxious, life felt quite good, and maybe they felt carefree. But slowly, day by day, step by step, drink by drink, alcohol has robbed them and taken them further away from that baseline of happiness, to a point where it feels almost impossible to ever get back there again. So from a scientific point of view, alcohol suppresses neurochemicals in the brain that makes it really hard for us to get back to this baseline of happiness. As a result, the brain needs to do its job. It's demanding that we get back to our baseline of happiness or homeostasis, and the only way it knows how is to demand that we drink more alcohol, because alcohol in the past has done the job of getting us to homeostasis, but only for a short period of time until it takes us back even further away from it again. But our brain knows no other way. That's the only solution it can come up with to get us back to that baseline. So it issues a craving. It demands that we drink more alcohol in order to get us to that baseline. We've essentially handed over complete control of our brain regulation, our emotional regulation, our happiness to alcohol. Alcohol has a complete grip on us when we're unable to get back to that state of homeostasis. And I'm so pleased you're watching this video, because if you find that relatable, then I'm going to ensure that you're equipped with the tools so you can overcome this and do something about it. So that's the first way that a craving can occur. The second way is from a cue or a trigger. A cue is linked to memory, and every time we drink, it floods our brain with reward chemicals like dopamine, and these feel really good. Every time those reward chemicals hit our brain, we tend to form an association. So if we're in a certain place and we have a flood of these reward chemicals through drinking, our brain will associate that place with that sense of feeling really good and feeling really rewarded. It can be anything. It can be people, places, certain behaviors. emotions, and even objects. A recent study of heroin users showed that a craving can be triggered by even the smallest of objects. They were given a spoon, and the spoon caused cravings in many of them. Of course, heroin users would use a spoon to heat up the drug before they took it, so they'd formed an association that the spoon equals a reward coming into the brain. When we expose ourselves to these triggers, to these cues, our brain starts demanding the substance that gives us the feel-good feeling. It gives us the dopamine hit. And it wants it. It feels really, really strongly. Now, thankfully, the more time that passes between the memory, between that release of feel-good chemicals, the easier it gets, the less and less this happens. But you can take steps to protect yourself from this. By understanding your triggers and knowing your cues, you can put plenty of boundaries in place. For example, if you used to go to the pub every single night, then every single night you would have been getting that release of dopamine, that hit of reward. No doubt after you stop drinking, your brain is going to be demanding that you do it again. And this is the opportunity to dig your heels in and show yourself that there's another way. Set a boundary and know that going to the pub is just going to keep you stuck. But you've got to do the same and identify as many of the triggers and as many of the cues as possible. Now, you won't be able to identify all of them. Some of them can come out of the blue. It could just be an advert on the television for alcohol. If you've got the right tools and strategies in place, and my videos on my YouTube channel will show you exactly what you need to do, then you'll be able to successfully navigate your way through that, having a healthy, helpful coping mechanism that's not going to affect your baseline of happiness, that's not going to leave you feeling more anxious, feeling down, and feeling bad about yourself as though you can never move forward and be the person that you want to be. The most important thing you should do is make a plan. First of all, know the different types of cravings, know what causes cravings, and then make a plan to keep yourself safe. There are three really important questions that you want to ask yourself, and you want to take some time over answering them. Put some thought into them. Be really, really honest with yourself. First question is, what will you do if you feel like you want to drink again? Answer that question and explore it with complete curiosity. What are you going to do in that situation? Will you reach out to a friend instead? Have you got a supportive community you can turn to? What are your tools to look after yourself if you feel like you want to drink again? The second question, and be really honest with this, how likely are you to give in to a craving? If you have a really strong craving, what's the chances of you giving into it? Be honest and then think about what you're going to do to overcome that. As I've said before, the journey to becoming alcohol free takes some work. There can be some trial and error, but until you start bringing these things out into the light, you're going to struggle to move forward. So get really honest. I suggest getting a piece of paper and a pen and writing it all down, thinking about exactly how likely you would be to give in to a strong craving, and come up with some ideas as to what you could do to overcome it without alcohol involved. That's the final question. What can you do to ensure you don't give in to a craving? And as I've said, there's loads of tips on my channel. Right next to me is a video that will show you exactly how to overcome cravings. And best of all, the first time that you overcome a craving, you'll notice how you gain personal power, how you become stronger. So check that video now. You just need to click it and you can start watching right away. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's new videos every week, and I'll see you again on the next one soon.